Hey, baby girl. Get ready to start, so just try to lower that and keep it down.
While we wait for him, I'm just going to switch batteries on my headset anyway, just in case.
Alright, anybody know what's going on with Facebook Messenger? Or Facebook in general?
It's a steaming pile of crap and has been for a decade.
Okay, let me be more detailed.
What's the message?
Okay, so ever since they did this end-to-end encryption stuff, I'll send a message on my PC. Like, I sent you the message, what's your gamer tag? I sent it on my PC, and it's constant state of sending. Where if I go to my phone and send it, it goes right through. Also, on my PC, like, if I, like when somebody makes a comment on a topic, I can click on the name and then hit the message. It'll tell me the profile is unavailable. So for some reason, I can send messages from my phone. I can't send them on the actual website. And it all started when they started doing this end-to-end encryption stuff.
I'm gonna tell you, I send messages on the website and on the app all the time. It's you.
You have a dog squeaking a squeaky toy or something?
Yeah, Star is in the other room squeaking or squeaking, so I can get her to stop if you need me to.
No, it's fine. It's just when it happened, I just shot and looked at the camera and was like, yep, I heard it too.
If it happens, I'm just leaving it in.
I left Juno in last week. Alex's cat. Juno started getting in on the conversation, so I left it in. Actually, one of the TikTok videos did it. By the way, that video I sent on YouTube got over 10,000 views.
Okay.
I know, Yield, you don't like the social media stuff.
No, I don't like your AI generation.
Oh, there's the puppy. Oh, just drop down a little.
Oh yeah, she sits right behind the Oh, and you brought your hamburger with you so you can squeak it closer to the mic? Good, good.
Good dog.
Good girl.
Heard people talking shit about me. Ooh, I can do a 30,000 proven gamer points on Twitch and do an IRL voice ban.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with the indie racing league?
It has to do with Twitch, and you can spend bits that you earn from watching the channel on things that the streamer puts in. You know, some people put like funny little noises or GIFs or things like that. At Improving Gamer, once you earn 30,000, you could do an in real life voice ban. So if I wanted to shut somebody up, I could spend 30,000.
That's not nearly.
Yeah, that's not nearly long enough to spend that kind of points.
Yeah, 30,000. I'd want an hour.
Well, it wasn't designed for the show, but I mean, in practicality, what you could use it for is like if me and Jeff are debating on a topic back and forth, and you just want me to stop arguing. You do the ban, I can't talk, and Jeff automatically wins the conversation, which is gonna happen anyway. But
that's not worth 30,000 fake money points.
Yeah.
Soundboard's got 5,000 views. What the hell did they do? You back, Alex?
Alex.
Yeah, sorry, it wouldn't let me join. So I had to sign out, and then...
We saw you before.
Yeah, you did join. You just didn't respond to us.
I couldn't hear you all. I had to sign out because it didn't recognize my headphones. So I had to sign out and sign back in so it recognized my headphones, but wouldn't let me join the call. So I then had to go out and do a whole password retrieval process, and yeah.
Alright, so is your phone okay?
Oh no, I blocked you.
Oh, dude, that explains it.
That's not on the show.
We were having a conversation. He hangs up the phone, and I try to call him, and then I can't get a hold of him.
Did you spend 30,000 Twitch points to block him for 10 minutes or whatever that is?
Oh, this shit was free.
Too bad this isn't on the show.
Oh, that's great.
Because the genuine reactions were great. Yeah, no, I blocked him for free. Peace of mind out the wazoo. I'll tell you that much.
I do have your number, Jeff.
Trust me, I know. That's the reason I'm discussing blocking.
Just give Matt your number. He's far more.
Hold on a second, Jeff. I think in all the years I've known you, I've called you twice.
Well, they were both for tech support for a machine I didn't build.
Yes.
Hey, Tricky.
Yes.
How do you spell the word with?
Not that way.
Like width is the article or width is the measurement?
If you look at Skype, I spelled width wrong on the title screen.
Yeah, you did.
And yet I get shit for misspelling things on an agenda that nobody sees.
Tricky, this is America. Do abbreviations. W with the slash. With.
We could get into the whole font choice.
Needs to be Comic Sans.
At least he's screaming your name. It's all caps.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, ironically, I did try to get the PlayStation font, but you know, they don't tell you what that is.
It's all those symbols. It's all circles and triangles and everything.
All right. Is everybody ready to go?
Yeah, let's roll.
I'm gonna wait on Alex.
Alex has a show to watch.
Oh yeah, what are you watching?
Ashley's got a headache, so I don't know if we'll watch it tonight. But House of the Dragon, season 2.
You didn't need to say that. Tricky doesn't know.
Well, Matt already said that he's got to wake up extra early tomorrow, so.
Okay. There we go.
All right, everybody hit record.
When?
Yes, I am recording.
I am recording.
Am I recording? It's not.
My thing.
Yeah. Fucking audacity.
Tell me about it.
Audio setup.
Matt uses Reaper.
Oh, it was looking for the microphone off the VR headset. That's a little weird.
Hopefully not a PlayStation VR headset.
No, Vive Pro from work. Okay, now I'm recording. All right, because it's got the right microphone. Since we're talking about TV shows on the show, can we bring up the fact that I am just loving to death the fact that it took 4 seasons and now certain people are like, well, what do you mean The Boys is a parody? What do you mean Homelander's a fascist who dated a Nazi? But that means that, wait, you're making fun of my Proud Boyness? Like, oh my god, it's been the best week ever.
I guess that's the start of the show.
We probably shouldn't start off with that.
Oh, it's the editor's choice. That's
Unless it's killing Nazis, then we can start off.
It's Matt's choice. He's the editor. All right.
And the boys, it generally is killing the Nazis. It just took the locally bred Nazis 4 seasons to realize that was pushing it.
5 seconds of silence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Damn it.
You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 627. I'm your host, Tricky Rick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. He's also the asshole who blocked me. It's Alex.
Oh man, the peace and quiet's been fantastic. I'll tell you this much though. I've never watched The Boys, but the way Jeff just sold it, I think I need to start.
He brings the awesome. It's I Yield to No One.
You know what else I also bring? Non-AI generated content.
Oh my God. Are we going down that path already?
You didn't have to say anything. You could have just left it go as an opening.
He's the man who cares less about trophies than we do. It's Matt.
Yes, not caring at all is definitely less caring about trophies than you all.
And
who cares less, our host or Matt?
Well, why don't you introduce our guest then? Because Gino's already trying.
Don't you make fun of my cat and her weird cries.
I'm not. All right, fine. And our guest, he's always a fan favorite, and we love having him on the show. It's Jeff. How you doing, sir?
Great. I care for platinums as much as I care for flaccid pizza.
So you like Detroit style, huh?
No, we can agree.
We all know he's talking about New York pizza.
Yeah.
You got to get 2 hands to hold a fucking piece up.
That's, you know what?
It's not a feature. It's a bug.
I'm tired of Matt not defending pizza up in the Northeast. You get on me about my wigs.
My pizza. I don't need to defend that our pizza is the best pizza. It's a fact, and I feel that engaging in a debate on whose pizza is the best is not going to be productive to the show.
Alexa, turn on right light.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix my cameras. This is the first time I'm using this overlay, so it's kind of weird. Where are we at?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that overlay. My eyes don't know where to go. It took me a while to find you. It's like we're the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, huh?
I think it's a good overlay.
It's a busy overlay is what it is.
I worked hard on that overlay.
On Hollywood Squares, you always wanted to be the center square. Why am I not the center square?
Well, technically, you are in the middle. Oh, Sweet Mama D wants something. What? Speak!
This is a really
I love you too.
Start to the show.
Well,
Father's Day was last week. You don't have to pay attention to him tonight, Sweet Mama D.
Wow! I'm going to let her know that.
Uh-huh.
go right
I'm
ahead.
glad.
Not on the show.
She got
Because
her own important shit to do. She doesn't need to be worried about you.
she's over there playing Detroit Become Human. And I think she just asked me for ice cream, and I gave her the universal okay, even though we haven't had dinner yet.
Well, she's hungry. She's got to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you neglecting your kids' dinner for?
I mean, who eats at like 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
We do.
I'm not sure on this show.
We tend to eat that late.
I will be tonight.
I just went back to the agenda because I was going to go do the trophy counts, and
Tricky, the longer you let this dead air hang,
I'm sorry.
to get
I'm
punches in here.
You act like you've never hosted a show before.
Well, it has been 4 weeks.
Yeah, you decided to let the Grinelli take over, have a night off.
I am level.
And yet it moved so smoothly when Matt was in charge.
I am level 950 total trophies of 30,990 with 865 platinums. I finally synced my work PS4 and got 20 rat plats. Alex.
Yeah, let's move on from that real fast. I am level 504, total trophy count of 9,858, and a platinum count of 171 and 170 games. That's right. A new platinum.
Yield.
I am a newly minted 512 with a trophy count of 10262 and holding steady at 190 platinums.
Matt.
My numbers haven't changed, but the latest achievement I got on Steam was in Origami 2, where I obtained an S rank in 10 missions.
Sid is
Not making those cranes and those frogs, Matt.
Sid is level 890, total trophies of 27,029 with 844 platinums. And Jeff.
I have a gamer score of 55,987 as God intended.
Okay, that's weird because your gamertag card says you had 49,000.
Are you
No, it
calling a
doesn't.
liar?
I'm just saying. Look at the screen and tell me what that number says.
I mean, maybe he hasn't updated it yet.
Or maybe I have the wrong name up there.
Maybe. I mean, that seems plausible given who you are.
It's just doppelganger.
And the
Just
hits
less-
just keep coming.
Less adept doppelganger.
A lot of dead air here while we figure this out.
Oh, no.
It's live. It's live. It's live right
Oh,
now.
Jesus Christ. We can move along. Jeff, sir, what have you been playing this week?
There you go.
Grunell-
See, Matt, just roll with it.
the Grunelli takeover is still in effect.
This week, I have been playing Leisure Seat Larry 2. And there's a story behind that.
Perf.
And the Phantom Liberty DLC for Cyberpunk. And still kind of haven't quite bounced off of Fallout 76 yet. But I'm getting near the end of that, though.
I'm nowhere near the end of it, but
Were you the one, Jeff? Were you the one blowing up Phil Spencer's town or his bunker?
No, I did not blow up Phil Spencer's bunker. Actually, I've not launched a nuke yet. You got to do a lot of stuff to get to the point that you can get into a bunker to launch a nuke. Bethesda needs to do something about the lighting in their games. I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right.
All right.
Tricky, go ahead.
I'm-
You want the show back?
No, you can take it.
All right, fuck it. Alex, what have you been playing?
Fuck it.
Well, I finished up Dave the Diver, did the Godzilla DLC. Matt got all the collectibles you were talking about. Not that many,
Nice.
but they were a different style of collectible than they had introduced in the game before, which is really enjoyable for someone who's watched a few Godzilla movies, and a nice little surprise because the Godzilla DLC, it's free, so it's definitely worth playing. It is shorter. There's only like 2 missions tied to it, but one of my favorite Godzilla movies growing up. Well, let's say there's a rather large reference or like something from those movies that pops up in that DLC besides Godzilla, which is really nice. Nice little surprise. So I enjoyed that a lot. So I until they put out more DLC for Dave the Diver, I am closed the book on that. Played the Night Springs DLC for Alan Wake 2, which is pretty good. Again, shorter 2 to 3 hour DLC. You can finish in a night pretty easily. It's a $20 upgrade to get that DLC plus a future DLC. So, $20. I think it's worth it, especially if you're an Alan Wake fan. The Alan Wake DLCs, because, going back to the Foundation, or not the Alan Wake, but the Remedy DLCs, going back to the Foundation and Altered World events for Control, they're kind of easier for me to, take in because it doesn't let Remedy get into its, rolling head of steam locomotive thing where they just kind of go batshit off the rails, where it's kind of hard for me to follow some of the stuff they're going with. But the DLC being in bite-sized chunks, I enjoy a little bit more. So the Night Springs DLC, 3 separate episodes, obviously set in the universe of Night Springs. They're a little kayfabe in-universe TV show, kind of like Sci-Fi Channel. And basically, 3 separate chapters. You play as 3 separate characters, none of which are Alan Wake. But yeah, really enjoyable. They don't get too out of control with it. Like I said, bite-sized bits, so it's a lot easier to understand than, say, the Alan Wake section of Alan Wake 2, which I kind of started to zone out on. But my favorite part of the DLC was the first one where you play as the waitress for the diner. And basically, she is you're living through her life with this delusion. And basically, she has to go save Alan Wake from his evil twin brother. And she's like, "Oh, I'm glad I left my accessories in the diner kitchen." And you end up going to the kitchen, and it's like, "Oh, what's she got?" It's a shotgun and a rifle. And she's just going through the forest, blasting people away, trying to get to Alan Wake to save him. And she'll say funny things like whenever she loads her gun, "My gun is hungry." So just living through the delusion of the waitress as she's kicking ass. At one point, I had 600 shotgun rounds, so there was no fear of me running out of ammo. So the DLC is a lot of fun, but I enjoyed the first portion of that the best. And then lastly, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus got the platinum trophy in that last night.
That was quick.
Obviously,
That was quick.
I mean, it took me about 3 days. I mean, it's not a super long game. There's 5 chapters, and you can easily do a chapter a night. If you have enough time, you can do 2 chapters in a night. But love the hell out of Sly Cooper. Sly Cooper 2 is my favorite. I love the way they switched up the gameplay. But the first one's a lot of fun. Very Crash Bandicoot, hub world, get from point A to point B in levels. I mean, they do switch up the gameplay a little bit, so it's not just like go into a level, get to the end, get a key, get out. There are a few different like mini games thrown in there as levels. But overall, I enjoyed it. The trophy list for the PS3 Remastered Collection was pretty weak. They did things like you get a trophy for starting the game. You get a trophy for stealing a police file from Carmelita, which is, by the way, one of the first things you do in the game. It's like the tutorial mission. Collect a coin, get a trophy. Enter this world to get a trophy. So it's just a lot of cheap trophies, whereas the PlayStation 5 version, almost a completely different trophy list. There is some overlap, like, beating the bosses, you get a trophy for each one of those. But for the most part, brand new trophy list and a lot more thoughtful. So if you're a trophy hunter, definitely worth playing again for a better trophy list. And the Sly Cooper games, like I said, I think Sly Cooper 1 is the weakest of the bunch because, again, it is a lot different gameplay style than the other ones, but it's still a lot of fun. And I am glad to see that it's got a lot of traction because even if you don't have PlayStation Plus, you can still buy it for, I think it's $10 on PlayStation Network. But this is the way we get a new Sly Cooper game because you got to figure that if they put this one on there, you're going to follow with Sly 2 and 3, maybe 4. And if they all do well enough, maybe Sony will be convinced to finally put out Sly 5. And we can figure out what happens to Sly after the end of 4. So go out there, and if you're a Sly Cooper fan, support it, because it's still a lot of fun. And the only thing I had issue with is that the camera controls. The horizontal controls with the left stick, left to right were inverted. So you go left, it goes right. You go right, it goes left. And I couldn't figure out how to... By the end of the game, I was used to it. But I couldn't figure out how to go into the controls, fix it. So that inversion was a little weird. Other than that, game still plays great.
Checking in from the chat, Dex, who is my fellow agent in Division 2, he says, "Good day, gents."
What up, Dex?
Okay. And we figured out the, well, I haven't figured it out, but Jeff did confirm his gamer score is accurate. For some reason, Exophase, which is what I'm using to get the gamertag cards, hasn't updated in probably a year. So...
Maybe you should stop using it then.
Yeah.
I don't.
Maybe
well,
you should go straight to the source and use Microsoft.
Well, they don't do gamer cards. And anything.
I can pull up my What? I can pull up profiles of other people.
Yeah, but you can't display them. Is the point?
Really? Couldn't you copy paste?
What? Like
I'm
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 not making a little frame picture of my gamer card. But
I'm going to trust Jeff on this, and not the guy who couldn't spell with.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
That's a deep cut. Okay, that's a deep cut.
Was it inaccurate? Was it inaccurate?
No, it wasn't. No, that was a bullseye, Alex.
Wait. You are cracking on me for my one spelling error, but over the weeks, Matt's made multiple, and you're like, oh, that's just Matt.
Matt is doing.
Matt gets a pass.
He's
but that's behind the
paraphrasing.
scenes. No one sees it. Yours was on there for Twitch for the whole world to see.
Hey, Tricky, have you been able to call Alex this week?
Moving on. Who else we got? Matt, what have you been playing, sir?
Hey, Jeff, he blocked.
I can't.
Alex, how much did that cost you to block him?
Peace of mind is what it cost me. Or it didn't cost me peace of mind. It gave me peace of mind, and it cost me nothing.
Wait. Do we want to get into this on the show? Because you were wrong. I proved you wrong, and then you blocked me.
No, you didn't. You didn't prove me wrong.
I proved you wrong. See, this is the problem with Alex. You can get into the debate with Alex, and he will never admit he was wrong.
No. Okay, so no, we're gonna do this right here. And Matt, I'm sorry, but so basically it was over. Matt, we'll get through this quick. I promise. Tricky once said that Spyro was more profitable and/or marketable than Crash Bandicoot, which I have dead to rights on this, and he just will not admit.
First of all, I said it was more profitable,
No,
and that was based on the fact that Spyro went through the whole Skylanders thing, and selling those toys
Guess
was
what?
more
You
profitable.
know who else is in Skylanders? Crash Bandicoot. So,
In the third one,
yeah.
Third
Anyway,
fight.
okay. So on the PlayStation Network, this came up because there's a sale on the Crash Bandicoot games on the PlayStation Network. And it says, celebrate 20 million units sold. Be one of the over 20 million players who've experienced the platforming perfection of Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Save up to 75% off currently on sale until 7/3. Which, does anyone, that's on the PlayStation Store. Which means what? Crash Insane Trilogy has sold 20 million copies.
so what have VG charts that says it only sold 10 million?
I'm going to believe the PlayStation Store, not VG charts.
Yeah, why do you keep going to these third-party aggregator sites for
Thank
scores?
you,
'Cause
Jeff.
they're always wrong.
Because VG charts is the standard for checking sales numbers and sales, the profits and the sales numbers.
Tricky. It is your standard.
It's been the standard for years.
It just said on the PlayStation Network over 20 million sold globally, and Toys for Bob came out and said 5 million for Crash 4, which was included in the article that I shared that Tricky completely ignored.
No, I didn't completely
But yes,
ignore it.
20 million in sales alone for Crash Insane Trilogy. It doesn't include the original games, Crash Nitro Kart, Refueled, Crash Team Racing, Crash Bash, none of that. Just 20 million for one game, and you're going to sit there and hold the fact that you think Spyro is more profitable. That's just why they keep coming out with more Crash games and not Spyro games. See, folks, Tricky got blocked because he pisses me off because he accuses everybody else of other things, like not admitting they're wrong, and I have him dead to fucking rights on this, and he will not admit he's wrong. He would rather go to some bullshit site like VG Charts, which we know is not right, and rather than the publisher that he fucking wanks off in Sony, have it on their store. Right there on their store, and he won't believe it. He's like, no. So Tricky got blocked because he will not admit he's wrong, even though I have him dead to rights on this.
Matt, what have you been playing, sir?
Oh, we can continue on with the show.
I tried to do it 5 minutes ago, but Alex,
I've been playing co-op Origami 2. I have done Helldivers. I picked up the Polar Patriots pack, and I was using the new Liberator gun, which seems pretty effective. Definitely effective for putting down Shriekers, I'll tell you that. I've also gone in and started playing MechWarrior 5 again, did a couple rounds of Ultimate Chicken Horse, and mostly my time this week has been spent getting my ass kicked in Shadow of the Erd Tree, the Elden Ring DLC that released on Thursday night for PC players and Friday for peasant console players. Just putting it out there.
Matt, what do you think about the difficulty of that game? Because I have seen a lot of complaints online about the difficulty of the bosses. I have a friend who plays. He didn't have any issues with it. He just, is like he just put his head down, kept trying, and eventually moved forward. But I have seen people online talk about how hard it is. What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's here's the thing. You have to have beaten two very specific bosses in the game. Two bosses that are very difficult to do on your first playthrough to be able to access the DLC. You have to beat those two. Once you get in there, what you have is a whole bunch of people who have over-leveled for the base game or their NG Plus games or whatever it is, and they're flying through, and they are now met with that same level of challenge that you had when you started playing the game at first. The very first boss I got in, I haven't beaten. He's kicked my ass a couple times, and I decided I'm going to go off and do some other things. And it's not that he's particularly difficult. It's that anything in the game is two-shotting me. And that's because they've introduced a new way in the DLC to do damage negation, or I should say mitigation in this case, and increasing your own damage output. And you have to find these things to be able to do that. Once you do that, it starts bringing it back in line and making things more tolerable. But until you do that, everything in that DLC is going to be two or one-shotting you, and you have to live with that. So my biggest issue is PC, and even some PS5 players have been complaining about performance issues with the game, and where the base game was running for me at a smooth 60 frames a second, the DLC, very specific areas, are taking massive hits, and we're dropping to sub 30s to in 20s some cases. And it's weird because when the base game was running fine, the DLC is not, and then people are now going back to the base game and finding that the performance issues kind of carried over. So something about this DLC needs to be optimized. So we'll see what happens. But I'm still having fun with it. I saw the giant flaming wicker basket Titan, and my friend goes, "Go say hi to him." I did, and he immediately killed me. So lessons learned.
All right. We're missing some of Yield. You haven't gotten yet, right?
No, I have not.
All right, your turn,
Like
Yield.
me too? Okay. So I've been playing some Everybody's Golf. I've been playing Monster Hunter World. Been playing some Call of the Sea. Some Helldivers 2, working through purchasing everything in the newest War Bond. I been playing some Road 96 Mile Zero. Went back and 100%ed that this week. And I went back after having a conversation with Night Patrol games that we needed to finish and DLC and stuff. And I went back and started playing Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine.
All right. What have I been playing? I have been playing, obviously, Division 2. Went back and, played some Helldivers 2. Now that I have my War Dog, I'm doing a lot better. Did we lose Alex? We lost Alex. Hopefully Alex will be back. And I think that's all that I've been playing.
Hey, Yield.
Yeah.
What part of Monster Hunter World are you on?
I just story-wise got to where the Elder Dragon made it through the ravine, and you're crafting the airship. Or I'm getting ready to go get parts to build an airship or repair the airship.
Okay. I have a pretty good idea of where you're at. You still got a little
I
bit
still
to
think
go.
I'm still think I'm fairly early, I feel, but at the same time, I feel like the game's moving along really fast. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah, you're still in what's considered low rank, and you have to go through high rank to technically beat the game. So, yeah, you've got a ways to go. You're still on some of the starter monsters. They're going to start throwing some tougher ones at you very shortly.
Tougher ones. The ones I've been going against have been tough.
And you,
Yeah.
They're going to throw the
How-
gauntlet at me.
Good do you think you're going to get at this game?
Probably not very good at all. If it wasn't for my brother and his friend and playing together, I'd have given up a long time ago.
Yeah. Co-op definitely is the way to make this game work.
and you said you've been playing Everybody's Golf. I thought they shut the servers off on that.
They did for multiplayer, but you can still play local.
Good point. All right.
Really, that's the best way to play unless you're playing against you and beating you by like 15, 20 strokes.
You did not beat me by no 15. I mean, you beat me, but you didn't beat me by that much.
All right, hold on here. I'm going to go back and look. It was a butt whooping.
It wasn't pretty. I would call Alex to find out what the hell happened to him, but he's got me blocked, so I can't call him.
He comes back.
Where are we at? We are on what we're doing, what we're playing. Let's get into our topics. PlayStation Portal update will now let you play in more places. This has come from GameSpot and written by Darren Bonahughes. I'm gonna guess. Sorry if I butchered your name. A new update.
Is this that portable device that only works on Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Okay.
A new update to the popular PlayStation Portal device rolled out in June of 19. One of the big updates includes giving users more options to use this device outside the home. Previously, the device would not work over networks requiring users to validate themselves using web browsers. Now, using your smartphone, you'll be able to scan a QR code that will allow you to complete the steps on your smartphone, which will then give the portal the ability to play over those networks. So, I think Gareth is the one that shared this initially in our groups, and I said this is a feature that should have been there from the start. Why this wasn't included from the start, I'll never know. Because
Sony fails to plan ahead.
They had to have known this was going to be an obstacle.
They didn't, because between that and them selling a game in districts that they don't allow the creation of PlayStation Network accounts, and then them saying that you need a PlayStation Network account to play this game, all these things that occur tells me people at Sony don't plan ahead effectively.
Jeff, your comment, sir?
Well, I was just looking to see what I was going to make a joke that was like, well, the 8 people that own it will appreciate that. But I decided to go see what the sales numbers were on it before I was dismissive. Granted, I only just spent about 10 seconds looking, but the only thing I could find was that it was the best-selling PlayStation accessory last year, which categorizing it as an accessory seems correct to me because it doesn't work on its own. But that means that everyone calling it a portable gaming handheld also needs to readdress their thinking, and having to be on the same Wi-Fi as the device is incredibly short-sighted. So I agree with you that this should have been there from the start. If you're going to give somebody a gaming handheld, then they should be able to use it any place that they have a Wi-Fi connection, not just in their own house. And if Sony can't figure out the licensing issues and game streaming and those other issues, then they didn't really think this device out very well.
Well, I mean, not to defend it because I don't have one, and I actually think it's kind of useless in itself. But one, the problem was that this was not the device did not have a web browser attached to it, which is a big problem.
Right.
And the fact that they sold this as a primarily remote play device, which I didn't see the need for, because any cell phone nowadays you could do it with, any tablet you could do it with now, your PC you could do it with now. This was designed to say, okay, my wife or my significant other is using the TV. I want to play games. This is the way to do it. It was nice that they added the rumble, the haptic feedback, all that stuff into it. But $200 for those options when I could do it on my cell phone, it seems useless to me.
And
I always said, go ahead, Jeff.
We've discussed this on the show before. Sony bought Gaikai years before Microsoft came out with Game Pass and xCloud. And Sony had the keys to the kingdom to do what Microsoft has now come out with, and I don't want to say perfected, but is hitting a major strides with. And that is, I can play my games wherever I want because I can stream them. Sony has the capability corporately to do that feature, and they don't. And it confuses me why they don't. This device makes no sense in regards to, it completely ignores the fact that Sony paid a crap ton of money for Gaikai. Why isn't this a streaming device? Why is this I have to basically be remote play on an actual piece of hardware? Why can't Sony know my game library and spin that crap up on a server somewhere and let me play on my phone or my laptop or this device or whatever device I want wherever I am? Because other people are doing that. So Sony is behind them in this regard.
So one of the things that I'll address here, there's 2 points. One, you're absolutely right, Jeff, that I remember when they had the news break that Sony was buying Gaikai and they were talking about the streaming service. The thing about this device was initially you didn't have to actually be on the same network. The problem was, and this was the short-sighted Sony that we're aware of, is if a page, like you go to a hotel or something, you know how you generally have to go to a web page, right, press OK or something like that. The portal device doesn't have the web browser to be able to do that. So it completely killed the ability for the portal to be able to play that way. Albeit, I will say, I've heard some success stories. I don't know how much or how well anybody is going to be able to stream over a typical hotel network. I'm just putting that out there.
Yield your thoughts?
Especially if they're streaming, having their device act as the server and do the encoding. It's data centers exist for a reason. A lot of people wouldn't be able to effectively do it because a lot of consumer grade ISPs are entirely asynchronous, and your upload rate is a fraction of what your advertised download rate is. And they do that so that you don't run web servers and game servers and other types of servers on your home machines. They want you to get like business class tier internet services from them. So I couldn't imagine trying to stream a game from my local PlayStation 5 when I'm half a world away and my local ISP caps my uploads to 200 megabit a second or something very small. It's not going to be a fun experience. And on your home local Wi-Fi, you won't get that because it'll be whatever your home Wi-Fi supports internally. It's only when you leave the boundary of your house and start spitting those packets out across the wider internet that these throttling issues are going to become prevalent.
Well, Jeff, let me ask you this, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but going straight from the console or from the portal to the PlayStation 5 with a direct connection rather than going over Wi-Fi, does not make a better connection?
I mean, if you plug it, it could, but even if your PlayStation 5 is hardwired and you have, let's say, gigabit Ethernet throughout your house, which isn't uncommon these days, your ISP, which if you're sending emails and stuff, you're not going to notice this. Your ISP could be gigabit down, but 200 megabit upload. And
right.
It's not uncommon for them to be very asynchronous like that. Imagine your PlayStation 5 having to encode your gameplay and send it across at a maximum of 200 megabits a second, regardless of how fast you can download it at the local Starbucks or at the hotel where you have your portal hardwired in or whatever you're doing. You're still going to be limited by how fast your home device can get that information up to the internet.
Correct.
And your ISP is going to be entirely a factor in that. Whereas xCloud and when Gaikai was doing its thing for backwards compatibility, that's all on big data centers with, enterprise class service providers and is all the bandwidth they can get. And so it's going to be a better streaming experience regardless of what the endpoint is, because the head point where all the hard work is happening is custom built for that crap. Your PlayStation 5 on your home network is nowhere near that.
All right, Yield, your thoughts on the portal. I know you're not a fan of the device, but I just want to give you a chance to say your thoughts.
Leave it to Sony to patch in something that should have been there day one, and leave it to Sony, instead of patching it so you can do it on the device, you have to have your phone. So yet another step to log something else in just to play games.
All right. We're going to move on. I did get an update from Ashley. Apparently, Alex is experiencing Wi-Fi issues. His computer will not connect to the internet. So that's he's trying to get back, but we don't know if he'll make it back.
Probably has someone else in the house using their PlayStation Portal and sucking up all the bandwidth.
Yeah, well, he has. He constantly complains about having AT&T internet.
Oh, that'll do it.
Apparently, that's the only cable company around that supports his neighborhood.
Like Uverse? Oh, no.
Let's go on to our next topic, coming from IGN, written by Ryan Dinsdale. Embracer has shut down the Alone in the Dark developer Pieces Interactive. Embracer announced it would be shutting down the developer Pieces Interactive, who recently launched the new Alone in the Dark game earlier this year. Unfortunately, the game was met with average reviews and less than expected sales, which led to Embracer's decision to close the studio. Let's go to Yield first.
Okay. Don't stay under Embracer's umbrella.
Jeff already knows that. Sorry. I should have said that. Matt, your thoughts?
You're not wrong.
It's just, again, more sad that, again, if a single game doesn't perform, you're done, at least as far as Embracer is concerned. So, feel for all those folks. Hopefully they land on their feet very soon.
And Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, I noticed you had the Embracer smorgasbord on the show notes, and I was wondering if that's why I was on tonight.
Total coincidence. I tell you, it's a total coincidence.
My thoughts are colored by having worked for an Embracer studio. And I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way. Like, I've seen how that corporation operates. And I believe we've talked about this before. The CEO of Embracer, I don't know if he started with a lot of money or worked his way up. I don't know what his background is, but his original foray into making his own money, it was buying and selling comic books. He made a ton of money trading classic comic books. And I honestly think that in his mind, the thought process was, well, gee, there's some overlap between people who like comic books and people who like video games. And I sincerely believe that he is coming to a huge realization over the past year that you can't just buy a video game company and expect it to appreciate the way a classic comic book does, that you actually have to invest in development. And it's a shame that so many Embracer studios were getting shut down and so many things were canceled, but I can say that I don't believe that they really have any idea what development is. And that comes specifically from me working at Volition. Like, I never got the feeling that anybody at Embracer who had any direct oversight over what Volition was doing knew how game development worked. And so it's a shame that yet another company, and what the company that did Alone in the Dark had been around for almost 10 years. It's a crying shame that another one of them got shut down, and it's easy to say that the game didn't perform, and so therefore that's what happened. But the variable that's missing is how much valid and really constructive and helpful development-oriented support did Embracer give them during the development of that title. And I would guess that it's not nearly enough. And so Embracer is to blame for this failure at some level, but you don't see the heads rolling at Embracer. You just see them getting rid of the studio that they may have mismanaged. No. And I say may in that instance because I don't know specifically, and I won't name names, but I know that there are studios that they specifically mismanaged, and it wasn't necessarily nefarious. I just don't think that they exist at the same level as, say, an Ubisoft or an EA, and I'm not saying that those companies are great, but I just don't think that they have anybody at the upper level that really understands how game development in the year 2024 actually operates.
Dex in the chat says, I love when Jeff is on because I learn stuff, and then he says, shit travels downhill.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on, I promise you this was total coincidence, Jeff, about the Embracer topics.
There was also an Embracer story from this week you didn't put in here, so we can talk about that one too. Yes, Embracer and Red Faction.
Well, that's actually actually our next topic.
Right. Oh no, the one you didn't put in was them saying that they're going to use AI to assist in game development.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh yeah.
The next one is coming from IGN, written by Wesley Yinpool. Embracer Studio was working on a brand new Red Faction game before layoffs. Recent reports. Oh, so sounds like somebody was starting to talk. Okay. Recent reports have covered how Fish Labs, which has been bought by Embracer back in 2018, were working on a visual prototype for a new Red Faction game. Embracer had already shut down Volition, the last developers to work on Red Faction, when Fish Labs put their pitch together, including a fake trailer with Unreal 5 as the engine. However, the project was never greenlit, and at the same time, Fish Labs studio leads were told to lay off almost everyone not attached to an active game project. Yield, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, don't work for anybody for Embracer right now.
I mean, I think the problem is just Embracer just has too much on its plate, and that's the problem.
Really? Because everybody did that.
Everybody did what? Laid off people?
Sony, Microsoft, Embracer, you name them, everybody went into this buying thing, and we all said, at least I said, it's not good for the industry. And now, especially Embracer, closing everybody down, mass layoffs. It's best to stay where you're at.
I'm not defending any company in my next statement, but I think the reason why we're seeing mass layoffs right now is just because we're coming out of COVID, and a lot of people were working from home, and they, the profits. This is totally just my opinion. I think the profits were a little bit better because they weren't having to pay, certain costs, so they were able to save money in certain ways, and they invested that money, and it just turned out badly for a lot of people.
Yes and no. A lot of these companies used to have the ability to withstand a bad game. A lot of these publishers, Embracer, Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, Sony, I mean, across the board, they got very comfortable with the fact that interest rates were at or near zero, so money was free. And so they would leverage the company to get a lot of money. So the C-suite people would tell the studios that we're going to take that nest egg that you had when we bought you, and we're going to use that, and we're going to get all this free money because loans are free right now. And what we want you to do is we want you to take this game idea that has nothing to do with games as a service and turn it into a games as a service, because all of those C-suite suits think that they're all going to have the next Fortnite and get the infinite money train. It's the bad MMO roulette wheel guesstimation of the 90s all over again, but this time we're calling it games as a service. And then COVID hit and economies got jacked around and this, that, and the other thing, and things have had to change to get us back on track, and interest rates have shot way up. Most of those loans weren't fixed interest rate, and so now they're coming due, and there's nothing to pay them off. In Embracer's case specifically, they were working a deal with the Saudis for close to $2 billion, and this was, like 18 months ago. And at the 11th hour, when Embracer wanted to announce that they had the deal, the Saudis backed out of it because interest rates got so bad. And there was no exit clause. And unfortunately, I think Embracer had been pre-spending that money. And so a lot of what you're seeing happen there is the fact that they were betting the farm on $2 billion from the Saudis, and it didn't show up. Now, do I think that would have changed the fortunes of all those Embracer studios? No, because again, we have to go back to the fact that I don't think Embracer knows how to make a game. I think they would have taken that $2 billion and continued their merger and acquisition spree. But a lot of what you're seeing right now across the board is because a ton of free money loans are coming due at higher interest rates, and there's no nest eggs to support them. And so the only thing that the publishers can do is lay the studios off. It's desperation for sure.
All right, Matt, your thoughts, sir?
But that's nothing to do with Red Faction. I'm holding that.
I mean, looking back at this, it's the question was there tolerance for a new Red Faction? I remember Red Faction 1 was amazing. Red Faction 2, not so much. Red Faction Guerrilla was very well received. Red Faction Armageddon was lukewarm. So it was interesting to see that somebody was trying to get another Red Faction off the ground. And unfortunately, there's just no tolerance for it, which is sad. It's a pretty decent franchise. And I'm sad to see that there hasn't been anything new in it for a while.
For those of you that don't know that are listening, I was the technical art director on Red Faction Guerrilla. When you play it and you see all the cool destruction effects, the rebar, the interior to the concrete pieces, the way the buildings break apart, that was my life for 5 years. If we had just taken what we learned about how to work with the engine in Red Faction Guerrilla and done Guerrilla 2 and made the locations denser, moved them closer together, it would have been great. Unfortunately, Armageddon got turned into a bad Gears of War knockoff because of the THQ hired corporate-wide, basically creative director who came from the movie industry and didn't understand what was going on. I don't believe that the lackluster response to Armageddon is why we haven't seen another Red Faction. And when Lars, keep in mind, before there was Embracer, there was Nordic Games. And when THQ went bankrupt in the 2010s, I forget the exact year, 2013, 2014, Nordic Games bought a whole bunch of THQ, including the name, and renamed themselves THQ Nordic, and then they became Embracer later. But they got the Red Faction IP back then. And so they've had it for close to 10 years. And CEO Lars said back then that he would have a new Red Faction game out within 18 months. And I won't go into the details, but Volition was approached to do a treatment. And the dollar number is what stopped the whole thing, because the destruction engine as existed in Red Faction Guerrilla does not exist anymore. And Havoc has been bought and sold, and they've changed their API, and like it would be literally starting over from scratch. And that engine was built for consoles that shipped in 2009. We're talking PlayStation 3 and 360. Like you would have to start over from the ground up, and that's where all the money sink was to get a new destruction engine going. Is Unreal 5 close? Unreal 5's close. It doesn't have the stress network. It would still take a lot of money to make a proper destruction engine, even on top of a known middleware like Unreal Engine. The Finals, which I guess is struggling right now, but they did a presentation at GDC this past year, and they gave Red Faction a shout-out as a lot of their impetus for the way they did their destruction. And it took 15 years, but the Finals is the second game I know of that actually has the calculated stress network that can affect the destruction non-deterministically, meaning it can happen differently each time. It's not a canned animation. The fact that the Finals didn't really do well in the marketplace, is that a condemnation on real destruction? I don't think so. I don't know that the Finals was a compelling game otherwise. But I don't think that Armageddon is what killed it. I think what's killed the idea is the amount of money it would take to do it. And corporations are financially conservative, unfortunately. I think the headline that Fish Labs was working on a new Red Faction is a bit disingenuous. If you read the article, they were on the ropes already. They divided the company into 2 teams, and they had 2 teams work on a prototype. And it wasn't even a gameplay prototype. Like, it was a cinematic prototype and some concept art. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's working on a title. That stuff happens all the time. If you don't have a studio that's constantly working on a prototype idea to sell to a publisher, then you have a studio that's going to run into a problem when your current game is done, because you have no place to put people. It's unfortunate that Fish Labs didn't get it picked up, but I don't know, given Embracer's recent history, I don't know that either one of their scramble teams would have saved the company. It may have just been that Embracer was giving them busy work while they worked out the details. I've worked for a company where that's happened. And so there's a lot to read into there. Do I personally think we'll ever see a Red Faction game? Another one? I don't. Or if we do, I don't necessarily think it will do the franchise any honor, because I just don't know of anybody willing to invest the time and resources to do better than what we did on Red Faction Guerrilla, and that was in 2009. It's a hard problem.
Do want to give a shout out to Dos Andres for the sub. Thank you very much for that. Jeff, I have a question, because I looked up Fish Labs because I wasn't familiar with them. Apparently, they also worked on Saints Row the Third, the full package, and Saints Row 4 for Reelected, both for the Switch.
Yes, and that's what they're doing again now. Is they're called what's a co-development studio, which is, it's outsourcing, but it's not, and some people call it insourcing. They exist to help other studios get stuff done. And yes, they did the Switch port. We were in contact with them on the Switch port. We weren't working on it internally when I was at Volition. Fish Labs did it all. And the same thing for the Saints Row 3 remaster. Like, they took all of the original code and artwork and they updated it and made it work on the new consoles. To give you an idea, people know the name Certain Affinity down in Texas, and Certain Affinity's making their own games now, but they used to just be a co-development studio. They worked on all of the Call of Duties, all of the Halos. Like, that was their bread and butter, was just assisting Activision and Bungie and other companies to get their stuff done.
Well, my question was going to be, is like you were talking about how for 5 years you were working on the destruction in Red Faction. When you're sitting there at your desk and you're working on that, are you working on a particular console, or are you working just for the effect and then somebody ports that to the console later?
Volition was so far ahead of the game in a lot of this stuff. Volition was, I would say, honestly, at any given point in time, Volition, especially in like around the time of Red Faction and Saints Row 3, they were 5 years ahead of everybody else in terms of cross-platform development and integrating outsourcing to be more internal. Like, When I got the company in China set up to do the destruction for Red Faction Guerrilla, we were getting game-ready assets back, meaning we could just place them in the game and they ran and they destroyed correctly and passed all of our validity checks. So many other companies even back then would just give work to outsourcers and then have a team of people internally that would take the work and make it game ready. And there's no cost savings there. And Volition, and this is true from the minute I walked in the door in 2006, Volition was always PC flavor of the generation Xbox and flavor of the generation PlayStation consoles. And that engine built all three versions of any given game we were working on regularly. And I don't mean every couple of days there was a new build. It was spitting out new builds multiple times a day, depending on what people had checked in. And not only was it doing it for each of those three platforms, at the point that we started doing the localization, it started doing it for each of those three platforms, localized in the number of countries that we would ship to. And so sometimes it was cranking out over 30 different versions of the game on a regular clip to run in so many, 12 different languages on the PC and 12 different languages on the Xbox and 12 different languages on the PlayStation. And 12 is a low number. I would say that they were probably closer to a dozen and a half to 2 dozen different language variations that we would end up with over time. And that would just happen as a matter of course. The reason I had the one trophy way back in the day, which was back in the Red Faction time frame, is because when you started at the company, they would randomize whether or not you got a PlayStation console or an Xbox console, just so that everybody was using the different versions of the game in a regular basis. And one night I was waiting for something to happen, and I kicked that dev machine over to retail, and I played enough of Uncharted to get a trophy, and then got really upset with myself and put it in developer mode and tried to erase history. But the people sitting around me, it was a mix of 360s and PlayStation 3s for all of Red Faction Guerrilla development. And then you had your development PC, so you could play the PC version at any given point in time too.
All right. Do you want to welcome back Alex, who figured out his issues? Welcome back, sir.
I'm recording now. You want to do a countdown?
Oh, you stopped the recording? All right.
I tried to restart the computer. I kept it going for a while because I didn't want to stop, but
all right.
I had to restart the computer. 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
All
right, Alex, I know you came back mid-conversation, but we were talking about, a lot of things. We were talking about, we're currently on Embracer Studios working on a brand new Red Faction game before the layoffs. Do you have opinions on that, or do you want to just move on right now?
I mean, I didn't... I'm assuming that means that Red Faction game is not coming out, since you said before the layoffs.
Well, apparently, according to the notes from Matt, it was never really in production. They put a pitch together, and the pitch was never greenlit. And then Embracer told them to lay off everybody.
We deserve a new Red Faction. Can't get that. We deserve a new Time Splitters. Can't get that. I mean,
I think they saw the Time Splitters as the next classic game.
It was rated for the PlayStation, I think. So people think it's going to be put on the PlayStation Plus network. Get out of here, Cosmo. It's going to be put on the PlayStation Plus network under classics at some point. The original for the PS2. So.
All right.
Could be, but it's not a new Time Splitters. Time Splitters 2, by the way, if that ever comes out, is really what you want to play. That's the best one, I think. But getting Time Splitters out there again would be nice, because we have not heard anything from Free Radical closed after Haze, so fortunately. But if we get Time Splitters on these older services, which is what they're used for, is kind of a video game museum preservation. If we can get them on there, that'd be a great first step. So, but also more Red Faction, please, or just get Red Faction on the PlayStation 2, PlayStation Classics.
Well, how about more Assassin's Creed? How about that?
No, we have enough of that shit.
Free Radical came back as Dambusters. Actually, they came back as a Crytek named studio, and then when Crytek was having trouble, not Embracer, Koch Media bought them because they were working on a Time Splitters game, because Koch Media had the IP. And then when Embracer bought Koch Media, Embracer got Dambusters, and as is evident with what Embracer does with studios. I believe Dambusters is one of the ones that got nuked in the past 2 years.
So does that mean Embracer's still in Time Splitters?
Yes, I'm pretty certain.
Oh god, that'll never happen.
Dex in the chat says he's literally just bought Red Faction 1 and 2 because of this chat.
They, Embracer owns so many IP
That are just going to the graveyard, like the Mortal Kombat.
that you know and
crypt.
love. Yeah, and they just, like, I mean, Deus Ex, Tomb Raider, Saints Row, Red Faction, Time Splitters. The list goes on and on and on and on. Like, they own a lot. I guess Dambusters is still around. They did, it looks like they did the latest Dead Island.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I have not played yet.
Dead Island 2, that's the one that got massively delayed, right?
By like a decade.
All right.
Hey, they got it out. They got it out.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's the one that was on the space station either, which is one of the prototypes I saw at one point. Yeah.
Coming from Game...
Zombies on space station. That sounds like compelling gameplay.
Also, shout out to Dex for buying Red Faction 1 and 2.
Yes, thank you. I didn't work on those. But thank you.
Hey, but it's all love for Volition. Keep it alive. Keep it alive.
I was giving a moment of silence there.
Well, I don't know if I told you guys last time I was on, but I believe the sign is never coming off the building. The guy, Mike, the man who started Volition back when it was whatever it was, it wasn't Interplay, whatever it was when they made Descent, the man who started it all, he owns that building that Volition was in. He built it in like 2004 and was leasing it back. He bought the sign off of Gearbox for $1, and as I understand it, he and the other building owner are going to leave it on the building forever.
That's nice. I know. I know we're getting a little sidetracked here, but I know I sent you the picture that they had in during Summer's Games Fest where they had the billboard with all the studios that got closed.
Oh, yeah, that made all the rounds on the Volition ex-employee Discord channels. That was very loving. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. And Dex in the chat says, "Oh, sorry," when you said you didn't work on 1 and 2.
No, it's okay. They're great games. It's just I started with Guerrilla. The other ones predate my time at Volition by a long time.
He also goes on and says, "If it helps, Jeff, I own Saints Row the Third on the PS3, PS4, and Switch."
I love that Saints Row 3 and Red Faction Guerrilla were probably my 2 favorite games to work on ever.
All right.
I mean, I think from a standpoint of people who played it, the Saints Row the Third is probably of the series the most beloved.
Yeah.
Except
for the people that think 2 was the best.
I don't know. I'm kind of partial to 4. I think
4 is okay.
4 is the one where they blew up the planet, right?
4, well, depending on which ending you pick, 4 is the one where he blew up the planet, and there's also the Disney-esque DLC in Hell with the Bollywood dance scene in it, which is just perfect.
All right, well, let's talk about something that's not perfect, and that's Ubisoft renaming Assassin's Creed Infinity. This is coming from the Game About Bible and written by Angharad Redden. I got to get better at pronouncing these names. Previously known as the Assassin's Creed Infinity, the newly minted Animus hub will be the home for all future Assassin's Creed platforms that Ubisoft previously hinted at. Ubisoft stated the platform will have multiple features with room to expand and will be a one-stop place for players to access multiple Assassin's Creed games from. I did read somewhere in the article that basically what they're trying to make the Animus hub is basically like making you the real life Desmond, where you can branch out into Assassin's Creed games, and basically all the games are going to act like you're Desmond going into past history and adventures and stuff like that.
Well, Tricky, I don't know if you know what happened to Desmond, but I don't really want to be Desmond after I saw what happened to Desmond.
Fair enough, but I will go to you first, Alex, because I think me and you are the only ones that have played a recent Assassin's Creed game.
I mean, I've played 2 of them in the past couple years, Origins and Syndicate. This thing should have come out years ago, considering how old Assassin's Creed is, which is crazy to say at this point because it still feels like a relatively new series, but when you think about it,
they're 14 games deep, 14 main games.
Well, yeah, but like the year that it came out, like I was still in college. It was like, what, 2007? 2006?
2007 was the first Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Because it was the same year that Crisis released, and I remember
So yeah,
that.
17
To
years
this
ago.
day.
It feels like this whole. I like the name change because Assassin's Creed Infinity sounds too close to Disney Infinity and whatever they were trying to do there. But the Animus Nexus, like that, I like the sound of that better. It feels more unique. And again, the Animus being one of the more important parts of the early days of Assassin's Creed, it just kind of makes sense. Although, like I said, I think the Animus in recent years has been like the least important part of Assassin's Creed, because if you take me out of the Animus and make me play in the real world, I'm like, give me back in the Animus. I don't want to play this crap. I don't play these IRL people. I want to play as the assassins back in the old days. I don't have a problem with the name change, but I also don't understand really what this is supposed to do. Like, you're probably not going to get a great grip on it until you actually get a chance to play with it and get in there and see what they actually intend you to do with it. Because just from your description, Tricky, I'm like, well, what the hell does any of that mean?
I think what it means, and I'm just speculating here, I think what this means is like you're going to be able to use Ezio and go and play Odyssey. Stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, that would be crazy.
That's what that's the impression I got out of it. Oh, I saw the eye roll from Jeff. I don't know that that's true, and I could be totally talking out of my ass, but that's what it sounds like to me, is that they're going to put all the Assassin's Creed characters into the hub, and you can be able to take this character and go have that adventure with that character.
Yeah, but I don't want to play in Italy, in Renaissance Italy, or in Egypt, or in Greece with Connor from Assassin's Creed 3. Like, I don't really know. Taking them out of their time period and putting them into another one just sounds really weird. I don't know that I like that too much. If that's their intention, I don't like it. But if they're just looking to make a hub for the Assassin's Creed games, like, I don't have a problem with that. I just kind of want to see what they're doing. But yeah, this kind of feels like a little bit too late, because they should have done this a while ago. But yeah, they like, if you're going to take one for, like, basically make it like a character select screen, like a party game. Hey, select which Assassin's Creed character you want to go into this game with. I'm not down with that.
Jeff, you wanted to say something a couple times.
I will be amazed if what you're saying, Tricky, is where they're going with this, because I was just trying to think, and that's the reason I was rolling my eyes. I do that when I think. If they're just doing, let's say, character skins and putting them in each of the old games, that still requires a massive update to get all those in there and the interface to allow you to pick them. And then you have to pay title updates to get these new games put out on the various platforms. And at some point with 14 games, that becomes a bit problematic. And then at the end of the day, you just have an outfit, but you don't have the different character animations. You don't have the different attacks. You don't have the re-recorded voice lines. Now, if you're talking all in like that, where they're doing new animations and integrating the new attack animations and actually doing, voice lines and everything, that's a massive fucking undertaking to try and patch new characters back into the old games and make it work in a non-bug ridden way that doesn't destroy the rest of the story. It's funny that you would say that Ubisoft is doing that, because Ubisoft is also the company that ran screaming away from the idea that you'd be able to buy your NFTs and carry them from game to game within their universes. And that is a technological nightmare that isn't going to happen, because even within the games industry, we can't agree on which of the three cardinal axes X, Y, or Z actually represents up. And you are all playing games where sometimes Y is up and sometimes Z is up. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day, until you try to take one of those models into another engine where it's not the same axis orientation. And then it goes to hell in a handbasket real fast, and it's a nightmare to deal with. So I would be surprised. Just from the description you wrote in the show notes, the word that jumped to my mind was, well, 3 words: dedicated game launcher. And the last thing this world needs is another game launcher. And Ubisoft already has a game launcher. Now, if it's some sort of like transmedia experience where there's backstories and animations and all this from all the games, okay, that sounds like a very 90s thing to me, but whatever. But I don't think you're going to be able to say, I want to pick the latest character from the newest Assassin's Creed game and go play the very first Assassin's Creed game with that character. I can't imagine that they're it's not in the realm of one IP and one product. which I believe has used the same engine or variations of the same engine across its entire history, that's not an insurmountable problem, but it's still a resource outlay that Ubisoft would have to be committed to. And every time they made a new game, it becomes an N-squared problem, because now they have to go patch that new character into all of the other games. And every time they add a new game, they have to keep doing this. And some of those games aren't going to have been written with expandability in mind. And so the hurdle will be huge.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think what Jeff's like mentioned the launcher, but a hub kind of thing seems to me like a place where you can register points by getting Assassin's Creed games, registering them, and then unlocking certain things by playing the games through this hub. But it being kind of a mix and match, you know, you're a mad doctor and you put this person here, that person there. It, like Jeff said, you've got certain characters who are of their time and use technology of their time. You know, we've talked about how Ubisoft is very, when it comes to Assassin's Creed, pretty good about keeping things historically accurate. So for them to kind of all of a sudden throw everything into the wind and have people playing with technology they would have never, you know, encountered before during their time period, just would kind of be a little bit ludicrous. So I can believe a hub to launch all your games, to have like a game collection there, especially since the Assassin's Creed series has been so big, and a way to earn rewards in game through your gameplay. But I mean, I think that it's a little far-fetched to kind of go to the point that you were going that tricky.
I mean, that was just my initial feeling when they announced this. I mean, we don't know anything about this. I'm making a speculation, but initially when they announced the Assassin's Creed Infinity, that's exactly what I felt like they were trying to do.
And they would do well to stay away from Desmond, because I think that was one of the biggest mistakes they've made so far is building up Desmond and then getting rid of Desmond.
All right. Before I throw it to Alex, I just want to point out I still don't know what the hell an NFT is, nor do I really care. So, yield.
Isn't just like an image you pay for, really?
Yeah, but apparently
like
you own it.
That image,
you own it, but
no, we're not going to.
You own it.
All right, let's
be happy in your ignorance.
Let's not get into an NFT talk. Yield your thoughts on the Animus hub.
I think it's a dumb idea, but I'm kind of over Assassin's Creed.
All right, Matt.
But Ubisoft has sunk all their money into it, so.
Matt feels like looks like he fell asleep over there.
I have no idea what an Animus hub is, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask.
Fair enough. All right.
It sounds like nobody knows what it is, so you're right there with us.
All right. So at this point, we're gonna throw it over to our questions from Facebook.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
First question is coming from Jeremy. He says, I know this is a trophy podcast, but what is everyone's thoughts on the Xbox Showcase? A lot of good in there, in my opinion. Joseph Priestley says, games that won't make money because of Game Pass, so they will continue to be the same place they are. They could make all good games they want, but they condition their ecosystem to not buy games. Yield will go to you first.
I didn't watch the Xbox Showcase, so I have no idea. All I know is that it sounds like it was better than Sony's, which wasn't hard to do.
All right. Alex, will go to you.
Puts yardstick on the ground, jumps over yardstick, better than Sony's press conference. I saw something today. I think it was on my YouTube reel where it said, or maybe I can't remember exactly where it was, where it says like where Microsoft is looking at now, where they don't have to rely on Forza and Halo so much. Which basically what they showed off at the press conference was, you know, especially with all the studios they purchased in recent years, a diversification of their portfolio is really what they need, because you can't always just be like, well, where's the new Forza? Where's the new Halo? Where's the new Gears? You got to have more to your portfolio than that. Even though, yes, the Coalition is working on new Gears, which has seemed to breathe new life into that series. You know, people have been wanting that, but they really need to kind of step away from a lot of those older franchises. Not step away, but have more to offer than those older franchises. And Jeremy, if you're curious, I mean, we may not go into complete depth on this episode. I mean, Jeff wasn't here last week, so he can give his opinion. But on a recent episode that Matt hosted, we did talk about the PlayStation or the Xbox Showcase and our thoughts on it. And yeah, for me personally, not owning an Xbox or like a PC, playing on a PC regularly, I kind of just tune those things out from the start, because I don't have any way to play a lot of those games unless they're coming to PlayStation. So I'm not really going to pay attention. But from the names that I saw come out and just talking with people that I knew and seeing, comments from the press, it seemed like they did a really good job as far as their, the only negative thing I heard was from Tricky. But of course, Tricky's going to say negative shit about an Xbox conference.
Always.
But no, it seems like they did what they had to do. A lot of negativity around the brand, studio closures, and they had to come out and show, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we've been doing. And a year after, in a year where you release Redfall and Starfield, and that's all you release, granted, Hellblade 2 has come out since then, but people have been wondering, where are the games? And it seems like this showcase answered that question for Microsoft. Whether they're all exclusive or not, their studios seem to be, finally getting stuff out. So I think overall, while I don't have anything specific to say about any of the games, I do think that what they showed us was, or at least the Xbox community, was a lot of hope that they have down the pipeline.
All right, Matt.
Like others have said, I felt it was the stronger of the showcases between the two. They showed us the games. Unfortunately, there was a lot of 2025s thrown in there, and nobody likes waiting for games, but it is what it is. Still, neither of them beat Nintendo, so I'm happy with Nintendo showing.
Wow. All right, Jeff. Before I go, Jeff, I gave my comments last week. I just overall, I didn't have a problem with the showcase itself. I just thought it was really weird that a lot of the titles they announced are either speculated to come to PS5 as well, or they already are on there, like the Sea of Thieves update, stuff like that. That stuff's coming to PS5. I thought, just from a business perspective, if they were going to do an Xbox showcase, they should have focused on Xbox exclusive stuff and announced the partnerships with Switch and PlayStation 5 separate.
Tricky. I mean,
Now,
Tricky,
what showcase has ever been that?
Look, Tricky, every PlayStation showcase that we've had, and I agree that you need to just highlight your partnerships with third-party companies and publishers and stuff like that. You need to have those strong bonds and strong relationships to keep a good flow of games on your console. But Sony, every time they have a press conference, is more than anything is third-party games. It's not
okay.
Exclusives.
Hold on a second. Okay, maybe I said that wrong, because I don't disagree with what you just said, Alex. What I'm saying is, I don't know who said it on this show or just in general. For a long time, we were wondering what was going on with Xbox. What games are they coming out with? How are they going to step up their exclusivity and stuff like that? I'm saying this particular showcase, I think, should have focused on Xbox exclusives in itself. That's just my personal opinion, but that's the way I feel.
Xbox has shown us that they don't care about exclusivity as much. They don't care about it. They're obviously brought multiple games. Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, a bunch of games to PlayStation, and they're probably going to bring more. So they've shown us that exclusivity doesn't matter as much to them. And again, one of the biggest games at the end of this year for Sony, Lego Horizon Adventures, is going to the Switch. So, I mean, Sony's press conference was, aside from maybe Astrobot, there wasn't a lot of exclusivity.
Okay.
So, Tricky, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Why do you feel that they should have focused on exclusives? What would the end game be for focusing on exclusives?
Because a lot of people were criticizing, especially the purchase of Activision Blizzard King.
No. I don't. From a business standpoint, not from a vocal minority on the internet standpoint.
Okay.
If I am a company and I own a console and I only focus on exclusives, why am I focusing on telling you about exclusives? It's because I want to sell more consoles.
Correct.
Microsoft will never cross the threshold that the PlayStation 5 has set. And what they're doing is showing you that it doesn't matter anymore. The old guard of, well, they sold 20 million, but they only sold 15 million, so they won the console war. We're in the transition to a post-console war industry. As I understand it from everything I've read, I haven't talked to anybody at Rare in a long time, Microsoft is extremely happy with the sales numbers of PlayStation 5 Sea of Thieves. And as I understand it from back in the day, that wasn't a Microsoft directive. It was, hey, Rare, you can decide where you want to put your games. And Rare was like, oh, okay, well, we're going to expand a little bit. And Microsoft, they're not going to take all of the Activision Blizzard titles and make them exclusive. That wouldn't expand Xbox. It would kill those franchises. And then what is Microsoft left with? Nothing. And so what they're doing is showing you that Xbox as a name doesn't just mean the console anymore. It means a whole bunch of different delivery mechanisms, and it also means an overall branding to Microsoft's gaming initiatives. And if they're going to have this umbrella of gaming initiatives, why would they focus on telling you that these things are only going to be coming to the Xbox when that's not true? These games are going to be available in a lot of places.
Well, you're right on. I'm sorry.
I'm more surprised that Sony, I mean, yes, Sony and Epic have a deal where a lot of the PlayStation 5 games are coming out on the Epic Game Store. They don't make as much noise about that as Microsoft makes about the fact that their games are available elsewhere. And I think that's Sony's failing, not Microsoft's.
Well, I mean, you're right on the fact that a lot of people are criticizing Microsoft with the purchase, and it is a vocal minority. I get that, but my comment earlier about focusing on exclusives is just I thought Microsoft should have came out and just shut them up and say, you know, we spent billions of dollars acquiring these studios and these franchises. This is why we did it, and have like a bold statement and say this is why we're doing it. That I know I'm also in the minority by saying that, but that's just my feelings. Like for them to come out and say we're putting our dick on the table. This is what we have coming for you, and now you can shut up because this is what you have coming towards you. That's just my personal opinion.
Do you understand?
But that's not exclusives.
Xbox is in a win-win position here. They either get people getting onto their Game Pass service because of the games they're releasing, or the games that they're putting on multiple consoles will sell on other consoles. It's they can win either way.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft sees the writing on the wall. They know they're not going to number Sony when it comes to games console sales this generation. I mean, their console's pretty much where it's going to be. So why not try to make as much money as you can by getting your games elsewhere? And also, as I've said before, their pitch isn't like, hey, play all our games over here. What they're saying is you can play Call of Duty on PlayStation, or you can come pay a subscription fee and get every Call of Duty game for free on Game Pass. That is their big right there. Game Pass, their subscription service is their big. That's their exclusive platform. That's how they're going to get you to play in their environment is Game Pass, not the Xbox console itself.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we've been saying that for years as well, ever since Game Pass came out.
Right. And so essentially, but now you're it sounds like you're putting up static. It's just funny because you used to be all about like, well, Microsoft doesn't have exclusives and Sony has all these exclusives, and I used to talk to you about the fact that exclusives don't matter. And here we are, and you're wanting exclusives to matter on the platform that never really had them. And the thing is that I think we're seeing where Microsoft's long game was, which is exclusives actually don't matter. Exclusives matter if you want to say that I sold the most hardware units. Microsoft, I think, is again ahead of Sony, just like we were talking about with Gaikai, that the movement of hardware units is no longer the touchstone with which to judge this, because making hardware is always going to be a losing proposition. It's hard, it's complex, manufacturing, and I mean, even getting alpha kits out to developers and all of this other stuff, it is not an easy thing to develop a new console. It's literally like, everyone always got shocked when, oh my God, the PlayStation 3 just released, and they leaked that Sony's already working on the PlayStation 4. Yes, because it takes an entire console generation to make the next generation. It's not like you set out 6 months ahead of time and go, bing, bang, boom, here's the PlayStation 5, and we're good to go. It's ridiculously expensive and hard to organize. And disc sales are way down. Like, who needs a console? Like, Microsoft finally announced that they're doing an X without a drive in it. And yes, preservationists and collectors, and I get that, but go into any fucking big box store, pardon my language, and there's no game section like there used to be. And half the times when you buy those games, you get download codes in the box. You don't even get a CD anymore. So why do you need the hardware? And again, Sony had the thread to make this long before Microsoft did, because they had Gaikai. they appear to have been myopic and missed the boat that the overarching streaming, not necessarily streaming, but the overarching delivery mechanism of getting the games in a lot of places is always going to win over an exclusive on one console.
All right. I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what are your official thoughts on the showcase? Jeff.
My thoughts on the showcase? I will not comment on either Perfect Dark or Undead Labs. I know someone who used to work at the studio where Perfect Dark was being made, and so I have stories. And a lot of Volition people. There is an Undead Labs studio here in Champaign now with, I would guess, close to 2 to 3 dozen people that are all ex-Volition employees. I will say that I hope both of those games do extremely well. That's all I'm going to say about them, though, because I know things that color my input on those, and positively or negatively, I just don't want to give anything away.
Okay.
But I think the showcase was, I think Microsoft needs to stop coming up with 1,000 different answers as to why they shut down Tango Gameworks. Like, every week, it's a different excuse for why they did that to the Hi-Fi Rush developers. I think they needed to address that head on in the showcase, and they, again, didn't. But overall, I think that they're showing that they're in this. Like, yeah, they didn't have like a big lineup for this year, but good Lord, Diablo 4 dropped this year. Like, what do you expect Activision Blizzard, and another Call of Duty is being done. What do you expect Activision Blizzard to do? Like, 2 big games in a year is a huge number, right? And Starfield, not a fan. But I want to loop in something. Somebody in one of the Facebook questions was like, and then Game Pass, and then you don't get any money or this or that. And there's a lot to unpack there. Game Pass subscription numbers are lessening. They haven't gone negative yet. So it's not like it's Game Pass isn't dying, and all services achieve some sort of plateaued maximum, and then you work harder at getting it above that. But your $60 game sale, and again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with games as a service, your $60 game sale no longer represents the major money-making deal on game development, unfortunately. If we wanted to make games $80, then you could probably recoup your development costs just on game sales. Starfield is an example. Starfield released a $7 mission in the Creator Club like in a couple of weeks ago, and as I understand it, that they have netted over $10 million off of that mission. Like, that's where, like, the ongoing support of the game, be it games as a service, be it DLC, be it you're monetizing other people's creation work on it, like hats and mittens and stuff on Steam, that is where your long-term revenue is going to be coming from more and more and more in this stuff. And so does it hurt Microsoft that a lot of people played Starfield by paying $15 a month versus dropping $60? I don't think it does. And at least in the indie scene, I've never talked to an indie developer that has been unhappy with the rev share from Game Pass. And I have to imagine that transfers to the bigger studios too. And so would I have been far more upset with Starfield if I had dropped $60 on it versus it was just part of my $15 subscription? Hell yes, I would have been very upset with the purchase. At $15 along with a bunch of other games, I played it all the way through, but as you know, I play bad games all the way through because I learn things from them. I don't think Starfield is a good product, but I don't think that Bethesda's losing money on it.
All right.
Because of Game Pass and extended sales and Creator Club stuff.
All right. Before we go to the next question, I just want to point out that both Alex and Matt are really enjoying the game that you talk about long before we even knew what the hell it was. That's Dave the Diver.
Oh no, I told, like, I brought the thing where Jeff is never wrong again, because that game, I love that game. Like, I got the Platinum Trophy and I continued to play that game because I caught all the fish and got 3-star cards on all of them.
I have not fallen down the rabbit hole of the Godzilla DLC yet, but it is on my ROG Ally, and I am flying to North Carolina next week, and I expect to be playing it on the airplane because it's just that good.
I will tell you, Jeff, like I said, it's 2 small missions. It's not anything huge, so you could get it done in no time.
Yeah.
So
I will say this to close it out, is that Every time I've heard somebody complain and say Game Pass is unprofitable, it's not sustainable, they can't do it in a long way. There's a valid complaint about game preservation, but every time I've heard somebody complain that Game Pass is not profitable and it's not sustainable, they have no factual basis to back up any of that with any math. And yeah, Game Pass numbers aren't put out there, but I'm just saying it's all conjecture and rumors until we're told otherwise.
Microsoft does not stick with loss leaders long term. And so the fact that it's still going, I think, is all the indication you need that it's profitable at some level for them.
All right, just in the interest of time, let's move on to the next question. Will wants to know which game in the limited run game showcase are you most excited for? And then Joe says that was the second best showcase. I didn't even know limited run games had a showcase, so I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, I have nothing to input there.
And I'm assuming Alex and Yield, same?
I don't even know that they had a showcase.
I didn't either. I will take a look at it and give you my comments next week. Thomas wants to know, what food or restaurant gives you comfort when life is not going your way? We'll start with Yield.
It used to be Friendlies, but that ain't been around for a long time.
There's still some Friendlies around.
Not around me.
Oh, maybe not around you, but there are. Yeah, there used to be ones here too.
I know that, but they're not around me.
Oh.
And it was asked my comfort food.
All right, so Friendlies was your answer. Alex, you have an answer?
For me, being in Kentucky, fried chicken kind of wouldn't surprise anybody. But Joella's, it's a Nashville hot chicken chain here. Mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, like all different kinds of comfort foods. But yeah, like spicy fried chicken, I enjoy that. And then just a place like a lot of time, like sometimes after work, I'm coming home, and I'll stop at a place called Ida Pita, which is just kind of like Qdoba, but from Mediterranean food, like gyros and stuff. I really enjoy that restaurant. So yeah, like that's some Nashville hot chicken, some basically like Euro bowls or Mediterranean bowls, stuff like that. Really kind of foods that like I could almost eat those every single week. And it just like, if I'm ever on my own for dinner and I'm like, well, where do I want to go eat? It's usually one of those two places. If it's just me.
All right, Jeff.
Repeat the question.
What food or restaurant gives you comfort when life is not going your way?
Oh,
you want me to come back to you?
yes.
Matt, your answer?
Chinese food.
I would agree with you, but I can't eat Chinese food anymore.
Well, with crab rangoon, Matt?
I actually don't do a lot of crab rangoon, but a General Tso's or chicken cashew,
Pot stickers?
or fried dumplings with their sauce, I will hound all day long.
Kung Pao chicken?
Nah.
All right.
All right.
Well, my answer is Italian food and any kind of pasta, stuff like that. Although one of my favorite meals is chicken cutlets with some rice or mashed potatoes. Those are my go-tos. All right, Jeff, I'll give you some time. You have an answer?
Yes. One town over, there's a little family-run, summer-only soft serve place called the Sydney Dairy Barn, and like, just if the day's crap, you just go get whatever the flavor of the week is at the Sydney Dairy Barn. If I'm home and like my high schooler's not around and I don't feel like cooking for myself, I'll often just order a steak from Outback versus cooking a steak myself. I can do it far better on the grill, but there's just something about having it delivered and I can just sit down on the couch and eat and not have to worry about making it.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I can't have steak delivered because by the time it gets to me, it's cold and.
Right, but you live in a gigantic city.
Right, so.
Yeah,
and
the Outback's 3 miles away.
And if I order anything like in the city, it's like everybody's delivered it on a bike, and it's like by the time it gets to me, it's horrible. Yeah. All right, last question come from Thomas. What movie should you not have watched as a kid that was supposed to be a kid's movie? For me, it was The Never Ending Story. All right, we'll go with Matt first.
Tales from the Dark Side.
All right, Yield.
I can't think of one.
It
Okay.
was supposed to be a kids movie.
What movie you should not have watched as a kid that was supposed to be a kids movie?
Well, Land Before Time, because that scarred the shit out of me. No, I was gonna say The Exorcist, but you definitely that's not intended for kids because we watched that in 4th grade, and oh man, we watched that in 4th grade at sleepover. It did not have the.
When you said 4th grade, I thought you meant at school.
No.
Yeah, imagine the teacher going, "I don't feel like teaching today. Watch The Exorcist."
No. And it did not have the crab walk scene down the stairs in that. And I didn't see that until I was an adult. And I saw it as an adult. And I was like, what the fuck? Because I had seen the movie and I didn't expect it at all. And then it happened. I was like, holy shit. No, I mean, Land Before Time, it's obviously that's a rough one, but same with The Lion King. But obviously those are, I would say probably it's South Park because I know that the language and some of the themes in there are not meant for kids. But come on, we watched that as kids.
That's not a kids movie. All right, Jeff, you ever
watched as kids though? So South Park, bigger, longer, uncut. My answer.
I don't remember a lot of the movies I saw in the 70s.
Wow.
Like, it's been a long, and the thing is kids' movies were kids' movies back then. Like, we didn't get the crappy PG-13 rating until the mid-'80s. Do I think Ghostbusters was a film that little kids should have seen? Absolutely not, but I wasn't a little kid at that time. I don't know that I can answer that question because when I was a child, kids' movies were kids' movies. We didn't have the rating system that fucked it up.
Comment from the chat. Dose Andrew says, no one says tacos and tequila? I've never even heard of that.
Well, no, that's Tuesday. It doesn't matter what day you have. A Tuesday is just tacos regardless.
Yes.
Yeah, tequila goes into margarita, Tricky. That's the main liquor that's in margarita.
Well, I honestly, I could say I probably never had a margarita in my life. But I'm not a big alcohol drinker, so that's not a surprise.
I mean, that's fine, but it's probably a drink that, as long as you don't, like if someone has a family history of, addictions, like I would say, hey, I'm not going to say anyone should, you should go try a margarita. But if you maybe just occasionally socially drink a margarita, if you've never had one, it's a really nice drink. It's, chips and salsa margarita.
All right, you guys remember months ago when I rearranged my studio to the way it is now? I had somebody come help me move things around, and I bought an 18-pack of Budweiser. All 18 beers are still in my fridge. They're probably bad by now, but...
Well,
they were bad. It's Budweiser. They were bad to start with.
You know what? I'm not even going there. Yield, we're going to circle back to you. Did you think of a movie yet?
No.
Okay. Jeff, did you answer or no?
I kind of answered. Kids' movies when I was a kid were kids' movies.
My answer was going to be the first movie I ever saw in the theater, which is definitely not a kids' movie, was Beetlejuice.
Again, not meant for kids.
Yeah.
There was the cartoon that was meant for kids.
Because I walked out of the theater and met my mom, and the first thing I said was, nice fucking bottle, honk honk. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I definitely should not see that movie.
Was that I forget.
I think that was I think that was PG-13. Because they let me in.
Yeah, see, that was 88. I was already in college. So I can't call it a kids movie.
I was 8 years old at that point.
Yeah.
Not to make you feel old, Jeff.
No, I'm about 10 years older than you. That's okay. I get it.
All right.
The Goonies.
Never seen it.
What?
Never seen The Goonies.
God.
You should see that movie, Trick.
Actually,
No, don't have him watch it because he'll hate it.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to say I don't know that I've ever seen The Goonies.
You would remember it. You don't forget the Goonies.
I remember the scenes like everybody does the memes and stuff like that. Like that stuff triggers in my mind, but I don't know if that's because of the meme or it's because I've seen the movie.
Real Goonies fans remember the scene with the octopus.
And then I'm going to say I did not watch the movie because I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's honestly, if you watch it on TV, the scene is not in the movie. But if you have the DVD, it's like an extended deleted scene. Yeah. I've seen it once as part of the movie, but I think most times it's actually cut out. It's right when they're right by the ship at the end, towards the end. Then there's a scene where an octopus comes out of the water and attacks them.
What movie was it that was the line Wolfman has nards?
Monster Squad.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you the movie, but I remember the line. All right, we're going back to the agenda for our topic of the week. Sony is shutting down its rewards program, and here are the deadlines for submitting the claims. This is coming from GameSpot, written by George Yang.
I also got an email about this.
Yes, you have until the end of 2024 to spend those rewards earned through Sony's brand of credit cards. The mobile application will shut down December 31st, and beyond spending points, users will have until then to submit any bonus points and purchase credit request forms through the app. As a reminder, this is not the same as the PlayStation Stars rewards program, though that's still not working at the moment as we've reported in the past. So anybody who doesn't know, because there was a little bit of confusion, Sony had a rewards program which you could earn points through credit card purchases with the PlayStation card. Back in the day, there was you could earn points by earning trophies. You could purchase DVDs, Sony-owned studios, and be able to get points and stuff like that. That's the program we're talking about. We're not talking about the PlayStation Stars, which is currently down. Matt, I'm going to go to you first because you did the synopsis for this. Anything else you want to add to this, or your opinions?
Well, we were talking about what we were going to make the topic of the week, and I said might as well be this one because it's not so much the program going away. It's that it's yet another Sony program, another Sony initiative that just doesn't do what they want to do, and therefore they are making it go away. It's no longer profitable for them. It's whatever the reason is they're like, we're not doing this anymore. So good job, Sony.
Okay, Saber in the chat says, "Oh my God, you should see the Goonies."
You should.
He'll hate it.
He'll come on here and be like, I don't get it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He'll hate it.
Of course, the guys are referencing the fact that we just did a Patreon episode on Monty Python, and I basically shit on the movie, and Matt tried to save me, just couldn't do it.
The Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Jeff. He did not like Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
The head drop. All right, let's get back to the Sony Rewards program. Jeff,
the pizza thing spirals out into so many other cultural touchstones that you just don't get.
Well, I mean, now that
I have no comment on the Sony thing. I don't even understand all the words as written. Like, I don't even know what a PlayStation Star is. That sounds like something Mario and Peach would have. If Sony isn't, this is every bad MMO economy ever, which is we've made 14 different currencies, and now you have to figure out how to transfer between them. And I forget it. I'm not interested.
All right, Yield, your thoughts?
I don't really care, to tell you the truth. It was a weak attempt, I feel, for a rewards program, because it was, hey, get this credit card and earn points, and like everybody was doing that, and Sony jumped on late, and I was like, I have enough credit cards, I'm not getting your specific credit card.
Well, to be fair, the credit card was a major part of it, but if you bought Sony DVDs, or like I said back in the day, they had the trophies. You could earn trophies. Out of the program, I've earned at least $1,000.
It's a weak attempt at a rewards program. All
right, Alex, your thoughts?
Well, I never had a credit card that could earn me money back through Sony via purchases, so I don't know how much money I ever generated from it. I mean, I'm sure I got some based on trophies I earned by playing PlayStation games. I mean, it's nice that they're giving people a big heads up. We talked about this last week. There was rumors that PlayStation Stars might go away. And, I think maybe it was Matt or somebody brought up that Sony usually gives people a heads up, plenty of time to act when something like this happens. So it's nice they're giving people a heads up. So spend those points if you got them. But, I mean, personally, I never used it. I mean, having multiple rewards programs where people can earn points to spend on your products, it doesn't make sense. So just get behind one and stick with it. And I think that them giving rewards points for purchases on PSN or PlayStation games makes most sense. Not making people get another credit card. I mean, like Yield, I have two credit cards. I don't need any more. One's a debit card, the other one's a credit card. I don't need any more than that. And I'm certainly not going to, open up another account just to get Sony Rewards points. So having it mostly based on what you purchase and the games you play and trophies you earn on the PlayStation Network is the best way to go. So hopefully the PlayStation Stars program comes back and better, and hopefully the people who do have rewards points in the PlayStation or the Sony Rewards do get to spend those. But just going with one rewards program makes the most sense to me. You don't want to confuse people. People are easily confused, and just Stars is the way to go forward.
All right, then I'll pose this question. It just popped in my head. Do you think this is going away because they're going to merge some of these systems into the PlayStation Stars program?
I mean, who knows? They could. I mean, I hope they would. Rather than take it away, if they're going to say they're going to merge it, if they're going to merge it into Stars, they would say that as part of this press release, these email chains. Like, just be like, hey, some of this is getting merged into this. This is our plan. Instead of being like, okay, this is dead, but parts of it still live in this. No,
well,
just get rid of Sony Rewards, give people the heads up, and then move forward with Stars.
I mean, to be fair, and I'm not being a Sony apologist here. The Sony Rewards
definitely will be.
The Sony Rewards was a Sony, TV, computer, all that, the movies, that was encompassed all that, where the PlayStation Stars is strictly just PlayStation. So that's...
Yeah, but how often are you buying a Sony computer or a Sony television?
I'm not going to say, like, it's too often, but obviously if they're still selling TVs and computers, I don't think they're selling computers anymore.
But I know
I don't think they make BIOS.
Yeah, I don't think they make the BIOS anymore.
We're talking about per person, though. We're not talking about a populace of people buying
right.
TVs. We're talking about per person.
Again, I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just saying that the programs cover two different ecosystems, where the Sony Rewards covered everything Sony, including PlayStation, where the PlayStation Stars is just PlayStation. So
right, but my follow-up question on that would be, how many people that aren't PlayStation fans got a Sony branded credit card? Like, why? I understand the pseudo cult following and people getting the Apple credit card, but then again, Apple users buy a lot of Apple devices on the regular, and so having that credit card makes sense. This feels to me like Sony tried to follow Apple's lead in that regard, and the overall whatever engagement they had with that card has dropped off, and the overhead of keeping that rewards program going is probably too much at this point.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't be surprised if, is the card going away?
Not that I'm aware. I have the Sony card, but originally I had when I signed up for the PlayStation card, it was with Capital One.
Right.
And then behind the scenes, I don't know the exact terminology, but they changed banks.
Right.
So it's no longer a Capital One card. So I did have to get another credit card, but
they'll do away with it.
You think they're going to get rid of the PlayStation card entirely?
Yes.
I'm guessing whatever bank is backing it.
You will get a new, like Jeff was going to say.
Yeah. Whatever bank is backing it is probably not interested in the overhead of backing it anymore.
Well,
and Jeff's point, the Apple thing, the Apple card, people are buying iPhones more often than they're buying televisions. I'm saying people are probably buying 3 phones before they're buying another television.
Right.
Because I mean, battery life alone, I will buy multiple phones before I buy a TV. I will ride that TV to the fucking end. Just like I do my socks. So, I mean, you're buying Apple products more often than you are buying Sony products. You're probably not going to buy, if you're buying a good computer, you're not looking to buy another computer in 5 years. You want to, update the one you have, but you want to sit on the one you have. So as far as buying Sony TVs and the PCs you used to put out, it doesn't make, how many points could you possibly accrue?
And Sony doesn't even run their hardware stores anymore. They had a hardware store at the Metreon in San Francisco, and you could get your, Sony ear cans, and you could get your Sony this and your Sony that. And I don't know how much of those, I know they still make that stuff, but are they really trying to still position themselves as a showpiece brand, which they did for a while? And I just don't think that ever caught on. And so why would an average consumer want a Sony branded credit card? I don't know that there's that much brand loyalty there.
All right. I think that's it. Let's close out the show. Let's do some shout outs. Matt, we'll start with you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Always appreciate when you come on. You always speak so well to everything that you talk about. So I'm sure the rest of the guys will continue the glowing reviews. Thank you to Tricky, Yield, and Alex. Alex, sorry, ran into so many technical difficulties. Appreciate you coming back to finish out the show.
AT&T owes me an apology.
AT&T ain't gonna give anybody an apology. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure you go to channel3.gg to gamify your social media, play some games, earn some XP. Shout out to Dos Andres in the chat for representing Channel 3 tonight. Saber, Dex, everybody else who was in chat. And shout out to my wife V. Thank you for everything you do on and off the show.
Saber doesn't deserve a shout out for what he just put in the Twitch chat. Yield your...
Shout out to the Hawk 2 girl this week.
You know she got fired.
I don't care.
I'm so sick and tired of hearing about that, and I've only heard about it for a day.
Yield your shout out, sir.
Shout out to Matt, Alex, Tricky, and of course, shout out to Jeff for coming on and doing what he always does, which is enlighten all of us. Shout out to everybody who was hanging out in chat. Shout out to Predator Dire Scum for some Helldivers, Nitro for some flat out multiplayer, and shout out to all the pimps and the madams of the whoredom. That's it.
Alex?
Give a shout out to our awesome community, the fuel to the fire of this Trophy Horse. Thank you all for continuing to support us so we could have awesome guests on like Jeff. I'm really glad. I mean, my internet cut out there for a bit, and I was kind of worried I wouldn't be able to come back on because I do enjoy chatting with Jeff and just listen to what he has to say because he is such an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to, you know, this hobby that we also enjoy. So I'm glad I was able to make it back and get to record with Jeff. It's always a pleasure, sir. Shout out to Tricky, Yield, and Matt as always. Thanks to everybody in chat for showing up. Appreciate you all. And last but not least, give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend, Ashley, who was actually the one who solved the problem of our internet. So I love you, hon. Thank you. And that's coming to me.
All right, Jeff.
Shout out to all of you. I love being invited to come on the show and to the community. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and pre-shout out the company I'm going to be taking hang gliding lessons from next Tuesday, so therefore they don't give me the crappy hang glider. God, I've got to get through this week, and then it's a week in the Outer Banks with 24 college friends. It's going to be a blast. Is it improper for me to give a shout out to a different podcast?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I'd like to give a shout out to Everything Amiga, everythingamiga.com, and specifically Aaron and Boat, who run the Amigos podcast. And if you don't get this, it's all about Amiga computing. Just by happenstance, because I was talking to a retro company up in Canada about getting an updated power supply for that Trash to Treasure Amiga 3000 I did last summer. Last Friday, well, a week ago, this past Friday, I took the day off work and put the Amiga and some clothes in the car and drove to Hurricane, pronounced Hurricane, West Virginia, where Aaron and Boat live and do the podcast, and they do what's called Boat Fest every year. And there was about, I'd guess, 30 to 40 classic computer aficionados there, and it wasn't just Amiga users. There were Sinclairs, there were arcade machines. This one guy had a Magnavox Odyssey, and he literally had the 80s console TV, like the 500-pounder wood grain with the tube. And he had just gotten the console TV off of Facebook Marketplace. A guy sold it to him for $25 because his kids had been asking him to upgrade his TV. This was some guy's daily driver television since the 80s.
Wow.
And he sold it for $25. Wanted to make sure that it wasn't get turned into like an aquarium. And so that was there with a big setup and like a bad 80s carpet so you could get like the family room feel. And it was a blast of a weekend to hang out with like-minded people of a different era that all have different consoles that are their favorites and different computers that are their favorites. And I got a lot of compliments on the Amiga 3000 restoration work I did, made a lot of friends and had a great time. And so all love to Aaron and Boat for stepping out of their comfort zone and putting that on. And I'm really glad I had a random phone conversation with Frank in Canada at Retro Rewind, and he said I should probably go. And I actually met him there. It was a great weekend.
All right.
Jeff, real favor to ask of you. While you're in the Outer Banks with your friends, have a few margaritas for Tricky.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not opposed to having a margarita. I'm not a big alcohol drinker, so it's never been a desire.
It's less about the alcohol and more about the taste. Let's be real. When it comes to a margarita, the alcohol is a benefit, but the taste is really why you get a margarita.
All right, you know what? My next day off, I'll go to a bar and I'll get a margarita. How about that?
Go to a really manly bar where like all the dock workers hang out between shifts.
Yeah, right.
And then go order a margarita, and then tell us how that worked out for you.
Maybe I'll just go to the strip club. Like, I shouldn't have said that. The guy's probably going to listen to this. I'm in trouble now.
Go to a local Mexican restaurant.
Matt, leave that in.
I'm going to increase the volume on that.
Shout out to everybody on the show. Shout out to Jeff. Thank you for putting up with us again.
Sure.
I swear it was a complete coincidence that the Embracer topics came up.
There's just too much news around them.
It seems like every time we schedule you to come on, there's some kind of Embracer topic on there.
Embracer has its own gravitational pull at this point. It's just sucking everything into its vortex.
Shout out to everybody for listening. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Dex for finally getting to the end game of the Division 2, so now we can actually start kicking some ass together. He did a lot of the work himself, but I pulled him through the end, so now he's in the end game, so shout out to him. Saber, shout out to you, and I'm forgetting somebody else that was in the chat.
Was Will in the chat, or was Will just submit a question?
He just submitted a question. Dos Andres. Matt, you said that's from Channel 3?
Dos Andres, yes.
Dos Andres, sorry.
Did you say Dex?
Dex is the guy that got to the end game of Division 2.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to Sweet Mama D, who's over there playing Detroit Become Human. And shout out to the Goddess, who's going to kick my ass later for saying I want to go to a strip club. So, if there's nothing else, until next week.
Repeated it. Shouldn't have said it.
See ya.
Listen, I own my mistakes. I don't have to block people to avoid arguments. Happy trophy hunting.
Fuck Nazis.